Welcome back to another Tul World podcast. I'm your host, David Jew, and I'm here with Master Jew.
How's it going, Mr. Jew?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Now, this last weekend we had Grandmaster Wheatley come in for a black belt test, and Master Gagan also came along. We hosted a little seminar after the black belt test, and we had a little Q&A section that we thought we'd kind of go over today.
Kind of share our thoughts on what was asked.
Right, so
let's jump on into it there, Mr. Jew.
One of the hardest skills to develop as a Taekwondo person, as you get higher in rank, naturally the juniors are going to start looking to you for advice, for answers, right? One of the hardest things to learn is to be able to say, I don't know. Because you've got a junior who's asking you a question. You don't want to let them down. You want to help them out. But it's like giving directions. If you don't know how to get from here to wherever the person is asking, who pulls up in a car and says, how do I get to wherever? It doesn't do them any good to give them wrong information.
Well, let's pause right there, Mr. Jew. What do you think of that idea?
Yeah, I think that's definitely valid. I think that's what makes a good instructor is that they can say, I don't know.
Absolutely. I think a lot of times instructors feel like they need to give an answer. And, we're human. Mm-hmm. It's not like we know everything. We forget. And so sometimes I'll say, you know what, I'm not sure. I'll go back and take a look. Mm-hmm. Because, again, that's one of the secrets to being a good school is that you have to have good resources, and obviously an instructor can't remember everything. Mm-hmm. And obviously a book would be a great supplement to that answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oftentimes I even acknowledge that it's a good question. I say that's a really good question. I've never had that come up before, or I've never, nobody's ever asked me that before. And then that I have to go back and discuss about it, think about it, look it up. Does that actually happen every time? No, because I do tend to forget the question itself.
So it's not just instructors, it's also high ranks. So even if you're like a red stripe or a black stripe and a junior asks a question, if you don't know, don't make up an answer, right? Mm-hmm. Go get that answer, find out. Go work, go to whatever resources that you have available, your instructor, whatever, internet, book, whatever.
Coming up in this early October, we have a panel of 8 great masters and instructors, and they are all giving their own lessons at the Tul World Summit. This is a virtual seminar, so everybody can join in, and you guys get lots of perks as well as the seminar. So check out our link below to register for the Tul World Summit in early October.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. You're going to get different perspective on different instructors and what they're teaching. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think it's going to be kind of cool.
Yep.
It's more of a personal question, but what's your favorite technique to perform?
Now, I can't really hear you. Can you just show that?
It's a personal question. So
what's my favorite technique?
Yeah.
Well, I'll make it quick. I like trying to develop all the techniques, but if I was in a defense situation, do we have a pad? Keep pad?
Yes,
sir. I know what I would do. It'd be one of my favorite techniques to use that I would definitely wouldn't want someone to use on me. You know what I mean? He's just going to get me a pad. It's easier for me to just show you than to, yeah. And I'll do this very quickly because I'll only be talking about myself. Over here, or someone hold it. I'm not going to hit this hard or anything. So here. So the human body is wide like this, right? Straight. And I'm here like this. We have to know the art so well that we have to know exactly where we're going to be, what we're doing. It has to be, your mind has to be on every little detail you're doing. So let's say one of my favorite, turning front ways on kicking is very powerful. this way, you don't kick it. Some of the reasons when you do chanji, backwards turn, learning these backwards turns is because backward turns are very dangerous to the opponent. So these, like, let's take chanji, when you're practicing that simple motion this way, it's teaching you how to turn backwards. Backwards technique is much more powerful than turning frontwards. So now, the backwards is to train you, like if he's attacking me, he's not going to, your opponent's not going to expect you, they're expecting you to do something like this, like a couple of guys fighting. But they're not expecting you to turn back like this. You understand?
Yes, sir.
And this is very deceiving to the eye and the opponent. And they're certainly not expecting you to do like this kind of, you know, like back kicks like that. It's very destructive to the body. Back kicks have more power than the front kicks. Now, even more power than those are the ones when your feet leave the floor, like jumping, bang. These are even more powerful. You understand? So, but here's what the point I'm trying to make. The body is wide like this. So now I know that my left foot's on the floor. And I know that I'm wide like the opponent. And I'm going to kick him with my back leg. But when I turn now, look, my back kicking leg's outside the body line. You see, there's a strong chance I'm going to miss. So now I also know that if I put my foot in the middle of my opponent, this foot, this is what I'm trying to teach you the importance of standing foot. Even at that, because I'm as wide physically as he is, my right leg's on this side, so when I turn, I'm still out here a bit. I might just miss. But when I know the work, he's going to attack me. I will exaggerate anything just to say, hey, look, I don't want any trouble. Just to know that I'm going to line my foot, this foot, I'm thinking about exactly where I'm putting it, on this side of the body. He may just think I'm just moving around a bit, but I'm actually preparing. Now I know I can't miss. And if I put that kick out, he's definitely going to be in trouble. You know, not just because it's me, but because of the accuracy of the technique, and I know I won't miss. So when I pivot, you see, you're right in the middle of the body. Your foot here is right, it cannot miss ever. And that's a very dangerous technique. It'll really injure your opponent. So my favorite technique, if I needed, so if David was the enemy, I can do anything. I can say, look, David, I don't want any trouble. I'm not right yet, I'm not in the right position. So let's leave it, and I could go like this. Now I know that if he moves, he's going to hit it. You know what I mean? So your mind has to be like a computer. You have to be filming with your eyes your opponent. You understand? You have to know exactly where he's standing and exactly what you're going to do. And then that would be one of my
all right.
guys. That would be one of my
so Master Wheatley's
very
favorite technique looks like it's the back kick.
Back kick, right?
Right. And Master Vegan's going to share
powerful
his
attack.
as well as I do.
All
But
right,
what's
does that
your
answer the
thoughts?
question?
The first part he talked about was the spinning techniques and does it make it more dangerous? We talked about that in the past. And so if you look at the comparison between if I turn towards the front versus if I turn towards the back, what kind of power do you get? So when you turn towards the back, you're utilizing the hips more, just naturally if I was to drop into a block.
It's kind of like a swing.
Like a swing, right?
Right.
Then if I just step forward and do the block, because then now I have to actually, the student has to understand to turn the hips into it, right? So just working on that is really, important for the student.
Absolutely. And obviously there are so many techniques, and I think Master Wheatley was kind of talking about his favorite technique if he was in a situation, right? Because there are a lot of techniques I think are really cool. Mm-hmm. But what's a great effective kick that you might use on the street?
Yeah.
Something like that. Like he was saying, people aren't expecting a technique coming from around towards your back. Usually it's coming from the front. I think that's pretty true. But if you're dealing with someone that has martial art experience, they might see that. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's important to do sparring, to see what things are coming at you. Mm-hmm. Right? So you get used to seeing that reverse hook kick or a back kick or whatever.
Right.
And that prepares you in that self-defense situation. So we did talk a little bit about tactics. It's not just about, I'm standing here, I'm just going to throw that kick. He understands, or you should understand, where your opponent is, how to line up, as he was kind of describing. If he was talking to say, hey, no troubles, but he positions his body so that if he needs to throw that kick, it's right on the money.
But to go off of that, that's really important, especially with board breaking. And so you guys will get a little more next week. They're going to talk a little bit more about that from this little Q&A. But let's say I was doing a flying back kick. Everyone's always missing it. You need to make sure you line up that shoulder on the left side. And so when you jump up, it kicks straight back right into those boards.
Absolutely. So it's not just the execution of the technique, and that's really important. That's actually a very difficult task as it is. But to understand where your target is and to line up properly, whether it's board breaking or whether it's a sparring competition or whether it's self-defense. So there's a lot of components that are entailed here.
All right, well, thanks for jumping into another Tul World podcast. Check in next week for the continuation of the Q&A with Master Gagan, Master Wheatley, and Master Ju. And don't forget to be safe.
Keep training.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Taekwon.